I got to talk to you about the national championship game.
Let's get it.
You came out spicy, and I love it. All right, coming at me and Tony Gill. We always go back and forth with the national game. I'm happy because you brought it back in, and I think I said Alabama was different. I posted that Alabama was different, and that's when you came and you said that the mobile quarterback was going to get us. And I'll say this, and I was going to sit there, but I was like, I'm going to wait. Jalen Hurts, because I think the last time we all know that at Alabama, Jalen Hurts wasn't necessarily a proficient quarterback. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But when you look at the fact that Nick Saban used to try to win with defense and a great running back, and how he used to complain about the spread offenses and the haste and pace, that when he finally got on board with that, and looking at how good this offense was this year, I wasn't worried about Ohio State just because this is the best Alabama offense I would say that they ever had. You know what I'm saying, in the Nick Saban era, because Tua, I got love for Tua, but I've never been the biggest Tua guy. One, because of injuries, and to a certain degree against the best teams, he really didn't show off because that was just half the Georgia game. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I've never been like I root for Tua, but I've never been like, man, when Tua gets to the pros, he's going to be that guy. But Shaun, I thought Alabama was going to win because this offense was just humming too well for Ohio State to be able to keep up.
You know what? Shout out to Nick Saban for making that transformation and realizing where the game was going. You know, and that's, Nick Saban, I give him credit. He's the greatest college coach I've ever seen. Ever. Not because, he's such a great defensive coordinator or a great defensive mind. He understands how to surround himself with people that are smarter than him.
Facts.
And he is comfortable enough to know that he is the guy. To use Reggie Jackson's words, he is the straw that stirs the drink. Mm-hmm. Like, he's comfortable enough, and he puts guys like Sark, and he's not afraid to go get guys that have had issues.
Right.
Allow them an opportunity to reclaim their lives and their reputation at the University of Alabama. We saw it with Kiffin, who's now at Mississippi, and Sark. Now he takes the job at Texas. I'm really gonna pray for him.
Listen, that is you're dooming yourself. They want too much.
That job is not as easy as people think.
Come on, man. Come on. Listen, it's like Michigan with worse standards and a bigger fan base. It's like it's never gonna happen. Just give up.
Yes. So not on the field so much, but I'm gonna pray for him off the field because I know the issues and the demons he's had to deal with.
That's facts.
And down in Texas, it's a lot of temptation. It's a lot of temptation if everything's not going right. So I'm definitely going to pray for him, man. But like I said, what Sark did last night and what he was able to do in creating an offense to get Najee Harris, Mechie, and Devontae Smith in space.
Right.
And made it simple for Mac Jones. It was almost like a point guard. Just get your guys the ball on the move in space and just watch them work. That was the offense. That was simply the offense, bro. Whether it was using motion, whether it was using formation to dictate, whether it was RPOs to open up the quick slant. Like, there was nothing. They ran quick slants, fly routes,
right,
wing passes. Bro, that was nothing fancy about the offense at all. And you're sitting there saying, why can't they stop this? This is simple, but it's because the collection of talent. It probably is the greatest collection of offensive talent I've seen on the field for Alabama. Without a doubt.
Yes. I have to say that for Alabama, when you look at that receiving room, which is receiver you, when you look at, dude, who knew Mac Jones was going to be like
Wait a minute, is it receiver you? I don't know. LSU might have
they may have something to say. I'll give you a little bit, but you listen. Come on now. Who would you take, OBJ or Julio, if you had your druthers? All right, you gonna go with the Julio. You gonna go. Well, which one, Shaun? Which one would you take?
No, I'm taking that. No, you'll get Julio out of my mouth real fast.
Okay.
No, yeah, I agree.
And then Najee Harris, what you said that you would like the Bears to draft and how just dominant he is, like that offensive line. This was the best Alabama offense. And it was great to see them. Devontae Smith, I'll say this too. All right, I got sick of Kirk Herbstreit with the do it right mess yesterday. Receivers don't say anything, and keep like listen. If that's the way that you want to do it, fine. You know what I'm saying? But you shouldn't castigate someone for doing it the way they're doing it, and also diss the players who opted out. You shouldn't diss the players. That's wrong of you to diss the players that opted out. All right,
man. And then on top of that, he must not really watch Alabama football because Devontae talks that talk.
That's what I was thinking too. Like
he might not be as demonstrative,
exactly,
everybody else, but Devontae talks that talk.
Yes, he does. Yes, he does. You
go to that LSU game, he was letting Stingley know.
Hey, all right, you out here with a man.
That's
all
right.
I do this. Right, I do this. It's like you said, it's not demonstrative, but you can see the chatter, and you know that he is sitting there telling the cat, "Dude, you cannot keep up with me." But listen, one thing I did want to ask you, because I know you had, and I don't know if you still had it. You had the Under the Dome podcast, because of course you're executive producer for the Under the Hood with Jay Hood. Shout out to our guy Jay Hood, definitely a big brother. So looking at ND, I want to get some ND in before we leave college and do a little bit of Sox talk before you get out of here. Looking at ND and the fact that to me, Kelly do his thing over there. It's kind of like we were talking about Texas and Michigan.
Yeah.
Notre Dame is actually like they're being Notre Dame and doing Notre Dame well to me. As someone who used to love Notre Dame back in the days, so they played Tyrone Willingham and let Charlie Weiss stay there longer while he did worse than Willingham with Willingham's players. Right. All right. When you look at Quinn and like, so I bailed at that point because I grew up unfortunately loving Lou Holtz. All right. Unfortunately, I grew up loving Lou Holtz. But what are your thoughts? Because to me, when people were getting on them about winning in the big game, it's like, dude, they can't beat Alabama. Y'all going too far with it right there. Being able to dominate the ACC, right? They're being a dominant ACC team, taking out Clemson this year. And listen, I don't care if Trevor Lawrence wasn't there. Clemson's talent is supposed to be so great. The quarterback being gone, they're still supposed to beat Notre Dame. Right? So that was a victory to me. But what are your thoughts as far as the expectations for Notre Dame? Are they reaching those or is it unrealistic?
Well, with Clark Lee taking the position of head coach and leaving the defensive coordinator spot over at Notre Dame, they hit a home run and getting Marcus Freeman from Cincinnati. Absolutely home run. The deal for he was originally going to LSU, according to reports. The deal was done. Brian Kelly upped his offer, called him, said whatever he needed to say, and the next day he was in South Bend, signing on the dotted line. So that right there is a home run because we were taking on water. Notre Dame was taking on water after that loss to Alabama. And what I mean by that is they had gotten in 3 days, they had gotten up to 7 to 8 transfers. And these weren't guys that were just like, kids that just weren't happy with the fact they weren't getting playing time. These were kids that were going to be starting and in the top 2 on the depth chart. So, I mean, you're losing guys that are supposed to be starting for you on both sides of the ball. You can't do that. And we're going into a season where we really don't have a quarterback. Jack Cohn, the former quarterback of Wisconsin, he transferred in. But, I mean, he lost his job to Hornibrook and Mertz, up in Wisconsin. So what are you really getting? And then we have Tyler Buckner coming in, who's a 4-star freshman, and we're looking at him to be that next guy. But once again, he's one of those smaller 6 feet, 203-pound quarterbacks that's similar to Ian Book. The problem, and this is what I ask people, if you put Trevor Lawrence on Notre Dame, that Alabama game becomes a little bit more interesting. It becomes a little bit more interesting. I'm not saying they beat Alabama.
No, but I get what you're saying. But you're talking about an elite quarterback and talent.
Absolutely.
With Book, he's good for a college quarterback.
Yes.
Like he's the epitome of a really good college quarterback. But on Sunday, that cat wouldn't be out there on the field starting.
Yeah, because when you start getting to saying you want to get to that next level, that's grown man. That's like semi-pro NFL. That's really what it is. When you watch Alabama, when you watch Ohio State, when you watch Clemson, like 15 of the top 100 players,
right,
in mock drafts played in that game last night. That's crazy.
Right, and that's not talking about the underclass kids that are still in the back. Yeah.
Right, and most of them are projected to go in the first 2 rounds. So that's what you have to get to. That's the level your program has to get to. And, you know, it's almost impossible because Notre Dame, just because of academic reasons, they just can't go after certain 5 and 4 stars. They just
Right.
can't.
Right.
That are
That's
going
fact.
to Clemson and Alabama, those being public institutions, Notre Dame being a private institution that really hangs its hat on this academic prowess.
Mhm.
So, with all of that being said, you're right. Brian Kelly has done a fantastic job. I was worried about him. He had lost his way, I would say, about 3-4 years ago, but he took a step back. He changed the direction of the program. He changed his approach. And now you can mark Notre Dame to be a top 10 team each and every year, and they're going to win 10 games. Now they're right on the neck of Clemson in the
On
ACC.
Dabo's ass, as
Yes,
deservedly so.
Trevor Lawrence is gone, but I mean,
Mhm.
DJ Uiagalelei that's a big boy.
That's a big boy
That's a
right
big
there,
boy,
man.
and
That game, watching him.
he
Oof.
proved when he went on the road at Notre Dame and put up 400 yards that, hey, I'm
And
coming.